And that's not uncommon. That's my I
He
played
could totally be a college bard and be like a college bards would totally be the kind that would tell stories. It would just be stories that he's read, not stories that he's experienced.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to go and look at the unearthed arcanas and find out which one best fits in the blah blah blah. Because guess who the DM is?
He should just, you know what he should do? Because there's like those black market type of books that you can get that are like really expensive for gold, but they're like, you usually get them from like shady merchants or something.
We're back. Hey, how's it going, everybody?
You're talking about. See, it's funny. What you're talking about right now.
In the game, there's actually like built-in books that you can buy with gold.
I didn't unmute myself.
And they unlock
what's
stuff.
Up? I muted myself on Zoom, and I was like, "We're going live. Here we go." And then I'm like, "We're live."
Oh, we heard nothing.
No,
Sorry.
yeah, that was my fault. Hey, we're back.
Oh, so how long have we
talking about college bards and stuff?
Oh, so you guys, did you hear the corn on my feet? Like, did you? Was that like a
what
thing? No. Oh, okay. Just making sure we weren't talking about that because that'd be gross. So
we're back.
That was awkward.
Shall we continue?
I got awkward fast.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's Scott's specialty.
Yeah. All right. So, sorry, we're talking about bards. So let's see. Where were we last? Oh man, so much just happens. Rye made it seemingly a deal with a necklace. Otto is stunned in silence. Grommen is. Do you remember the game you played when you were a kid? Like you had a dandelion. It's like Mama had a baby and like it popped off. You don't remember? Yeah, there you go. That's Grommen at the moment. And Thonk is waging into battle, spear first, which is very uncharacteristic for a lot of these characters. Actually,
he is in Thonk's mind, like this is it. Like he's at the edge. He can't control his anger anymore. This is absolute chaos for days. He's been chased down by his friends who are trying to kill him. We're in this weird place now. This guy just wants to murder him. Like he can't control it anymore. So he's going full Grommen.
I just think it's I take a moment and point to the things have gone to chaos to the point where it feels as though almost every character is broken. Like we can't process this anymore. They're out of character. They're so pushed to the edge, which is what happens to people when you push to the edge. So what immediately happens after that when she just nods yes when he asks anything or it asks anything one last time, all of a sudden, all around the building, all around the property immediately around the building, as a matter of fact, properties immediately next to this one, they're like nearby, are even going to be sliced in half from this. Huge walls of iron just start shooting up out of the ground all around all of you guys. So just out of everywhere, just huge walls of iron fill up overhead. Immediately, like you kind of like blink and look around for a moment, and those who are outside look up and they see that there's no longer sun overhead. You no longer see the outdoors, but there's an iron roof over your head, and beneath your feet is an iron floor. Very quickly, almost everybody there is just as the air you breathe becomes very arid. So arid, actually, it's noxious to you. I need every character there to roll me a Constitution save, except for Rye and Thonk. You get advantage.
Okay. Hey, sweet.
Awesome. So Grommen and Thonk are hacking up so much. They are literally just like, they inhaled the stuff because they were in whatever moment that they were in, flexing their muscles. They took such an immediate deep breath after whatever they were doing when this air got so arid. It completely shocked their systems and caught them off guard. They're hacking very, very hard. Like hacking up a lung right now. They're effectively stunned for like a mechanical effect. They're effectively stunned right now. Otto, who wasn't breathing as deep, instead of being stunned, he actually is poisoned at the moment for the effects, which is disadvantage on some rolls or whatever. So Otto is actually poisoned at the moment from breathing in this air that's just so arid and putrid. Rye, however, the air smells terrible and it tastes awful. However, it's not impacting your lungs at all. It's not bothering you at all. You can see around you, all the guards around you are also like hacking and coughing and whatnot. Some of them completely keeled over and hacking so hard, they're already starting to dry heave. Some of them kind of still up on their feet, but like holding on to their like legs or knees and just hacking up. Cassius himself is coughing quite a bit, but he's more to the level where Otto is, where he's coughing a lot, but he's still holding his sword with a white knuckled grip, and is trying to shove himself off of Grommen, who's kind of like keeled over and not able to maintain that strength that he had beforehand. It's completely rage broken from poor Grommen. All of this is happening all around you guys. Everybody's just like hacking and coughing, and that's what fills the air. And that takes on for a few moments. The only person that's able to act completely freely right now is Rye. And what Rye sees before her is still this like whirling and buzzing shape of metal immediately before her. What does Rye do?
Rye just like, as the metal's forming and the gas is pouring in, she kind of like stands up, and she kind of like looks around, and the door is like just to their right, right at her, and she kind of like runs out the door to like look at the sky, and she watches the sky just close up. And she's kind of just stood in the doorway, kind of like dumbfounded at what's happening.
Okay, so she just sees that close up, kind of dumbfounded, breathing in the air, seeing everybody else hacking up along, but she's handling it relatively well. So as this is happening, Grommen actually sees Rye standing in that doorway and whatnot. And so imagine Grommen gets those same emotions completely over Grommen. However, he is stunned for all intents and purposes. So knowing that, how does Grommen react to seeing Rye come into view?
As soon as Grommen can move, he's going to rush forward at her, still grappling the dudes and dragging them along with him.
Okay, so in doing that, so Grommen is trying to grapple these guys and trying to drag them along, constantly coughing and whatnot. Cassius, Grommen trying to like edge his way forward, which is very, very slowly because he doesn't have like a lot of footing underneath. He doesn't have a lot of strength in his movement. Cassius is easily able to like power against Grommen enough to slip out underneath it.
What? He should have to roll for that. Come on.
This is an old man, and Grommen is easily more powerful than him. However, the stunned condition is become incapacitated, fail strength and dex saving throws, enemy attack, have advantage, cannot move, can only speak falteringly. So Grommen is effectively useless at the moment. So pushing his way forward, holding on to this other guy who's useless, but Cassius is able to break his way free. As Grommen's moving forward, all of a sudden, Rye is able to see this. Nobody else is able to perceive it, not because they can't see it, but because they're like kind of looking down and hacking. An angel drops down from the sky, seemingly dropping through the actual metal ceiling overhead. And this beautiful angel drops down before Rye. I mean, there's no other way to describe her. I mean, every bit of her form is all in the right place. She has such grace to her, such beauty. These huge, gorgeous wings. These wings are dark in color and have like a nice, like leathery feature to them, but they're just absolutely stunning and graceful in the way she just barely uses them to hold air. And she drops down overhead immediately over Grommen, like a good 15 feet over Grommen, completely clad in black plate mail that's once again crafted with such grace and beauty. And with the greatest of ease, she reaches down by her belt and reaches for this glowing blue rope. It's a rope that otherwise wasn't glowing, but as she reaches for it, it starts to glow in blue, and it immediately whips down and wraps around Grommen and ties up Grommen in a very uncomfortable position that immediately makes him lose his grip on even the other person he was holding, and drops Grommen down to his to one knee and one foot, just kind of like awkwardly trying to hold his posture as he's hacking up along and is being tied up by this magical rope. And so she just is floating there overhead, holding one end of this rope while the other one is holding Grommen, to his knees. This is what Rye sees. What is your reaction to this? After Grommen gets kind of like tied up, then Thunk can notice it. If Otto gets his wits about him and looks out the window, Otto can then notice it. But Rye was the one that saw it drop down and wrap up. How are we reacting, Rye?
Rye, it's like obviously like the floor of the wings is like blowing in her face. She's like kind of like stumbles back a little bit, and she's got like one hand up. And she kind of looks up and she yells to this being, what was the price? price.
So she yells up at this like angel floating before her.
Yeah.
What is the price? And she looks at Rye and gives her a bit of a wry smile. Before I respond, Otto and Thunk, we'll allow Thunk to go first. You finally are able to see this kind of stuff
Can I
happen.
make a check as to like would I recognize it, or is it something beyond religion?
Absolutely, you are welcome to roll a religion check, sir.
Sure. Oh, wrong button. There we go. Nope, I have no idea what this is.
No idea what it is. It's just
I just see it. I just see it
beautiful dark
tying up Grommen. And
Beautiful
you
dark
know,
angel.
like I'm already at my fucking wits end. Like, so I know I'm stunned. I know I can't do much, but he's going to, the best of his ability, start making his way towards this thing and try to fight it.
towards the thing that's
I
flying.
mean, I'm like stunned. I am aware I'm stunned, so like it's like a step here and a step there.
Yeah.
But either I'm like hallucinating some drug-fueled dream, or I'm going out in a blaze of glory. Let's do it.
Otto.
Can I get downstairs?
Yes, you can. So as I had said to them, I just want to be clear. They are stunned. You, however, are not with your 12 that you had rolled earlier. You are, in fact, poisoned. Poisoned is you have disadvantage on ability checks, and your attacks have disadvantage, but that doesn't mean that you can't still move and act and cast spells and do all that other stuff, okay?
We were already downstairs, because we ran to the back window to like look at them.
Okay.
That's a huge radius. What is the radius on that thing?
So one thing.
What?
I don't know what you're referring to, Maggie. I'm sorry. I know you're...
The cloud. The radius of the cloud.
It seems to be everything that's encompassed inside of this this iron area that you're in.
I'd like to try to run up and catch up to Thonk and cast heroism on him because he's being a hero.
Absolutely. That's pretty funny. So you go up to Thunk.
That's your perception? Oh no, what happened to you, Otto?
Thonk is a hero. Yes.
So you go rushing at Thunk and you cast heroism on Thunk to try to
Keep
so you
him
go rushing at
alive.
Thunk with the intention of casting heroism on him. But as you go rushing towards him, all of a sudden you kind of like feel something on your chest, and you kind of like, I don't know whether if you stop or you keep moving forward, but you look down, and kind of like what fades into view is a very similar form, because it's the form that was taken by the whirling metals before, because you had rolled so well with your perception. However, not a whirling metal thing, but an actual creature before you. Is a small devil-looking creature with a long barbed tail and little horns on its head, and has complete features like that of almost like a hairless monkey with wings on it, and again a long barbed tail, just kind of like gripping onto your chest. It has like its tail and its stinger are whirring overhead, and it starts whispering at you threatening words. You at first don't understand the words it's saying as it's kind of like whispering these words at you, but very quickly it switches it over to stop now or suffer the sting.
I feel like I fucked this beyond repair.
Just listen to it, man. Just obey it. Just obey.
I was scratching his head.
Oh my god.
I felt like
Bear's
that.
just
I
confused.
love it because it's not Otto, it's actually Bear just being like, oh man, shit. And it's great. It's great. This is good.
Well, think about it this way too. You're like, Otto's really charismatic and persuasive, and I think like a creature that is like kind of using threatening words is something that like you would counter pretty well, I would think. Like you've used threatening words before, but in a different way. Yours is usually the other way.
I'm good at,
Oh no.
dampening. I'm not good at. Hello?
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Yeah. You got a little.
Yeah, you got a little disappear there.
But you're good.
Hi.
You're good.
I have no idea what to do.
That's fine.
I stand down.
Okay. So you literally just stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, you actually stop and just like, oh, this thing is on my chest and has like a waving tail over me and threatening to sting me with it. I don't even know what the hell this thing is, but I just saw a whirling metal one before, and I see like an actual one in front of me now, and I don't even know how to process this. Perfectly fine. However, Otto is a man of stories. He does have a lot of knowledges. You are welcome to roll me a religion check to see if you can identify what this is. Religion check of 19, you're actually able to identify this creature on you as an imp. So an imp is like a small fiend, is like a small devil. These creatures are one of like the lesser devils that there are. That doesn't make them any less as old as time itself, or any less dangerous to those that can't handle them properly. But you know that these are through stories, through tall tales, and everything that you've been able to put together through the years, and finally seeing it actualized in front of you. You know that at least some of those stories are real, right? So what you know about this thing is that their stinger is very venomous, and to those that aren't very don't have very strong fortitude, it can fell even the most tough man, right? So this thing is a dangerous thing. It has the ability to turn invisible whenever or however it pleases. They can change shape to many different things, not necessarily whirling metal, but like rats and ravens and spiders and like various types of vermin they can change shape into. These creatures are, again, not to be trifled with by those that don't know how to properly handle them. Okay, so that is, and you do also know that creatures of this sort, imps, the best way to harm them is with weapons that have been graced with the weave or magical, or weapons that have been cast in silver are the easiest way to harm these kind of things. However, that doesn't change the fact that there is one in front of you. Holy shit, it's real. It's on me, and it's threatening to sting me with something that I've known can kill like the fighters on a wall, stuff like that. So, and you're a little person. That all being said, we're going to bring our attention back to Otto, who said, what was the thing you had said again? Not Otto, sorry, Rye. You had said, what
was the price?
Oh, what was the price? And so, as I said, she had a wry smile, just kind of like letting everything else play out around her. And then, because all that stuff happens somewhat simultaneously. So you ask that question, a couple of seconds later, things like the gears finish working. You know what I mean? Thunk sees this thing on Otto's chest. He was rushing forward to touch him, probably somewhat knowing what Otto was going to do. Sees it rushing forward. Now it's on his chest. He's like, Thunk sees like everything kind of falling apart around him, and he hears Ryan could probably turn back over his shoulder and see Rye still standing in the doorway saying, what was the price up to this creature? So Thunk is able to put two and two together that this didn't happen out of nothing. Mm-hmm. Something caused this, and Rye probably is a part of it. So I imagine Thunk is no longer inching forward to attack this thing. Maybe he's analyzing, or
I'm more now. I mean, I'm still pissed, but now I'm going to.
Do you know any other emotion?
No, really, not really. But
keep
now
in your pants.
Yeah, basically. I'll keep an eye around. I'll just analyze the situation, watch.
Okay. So so you say, what was the price up to this thing? And she looks down at you, finish the wry smile that comes to a halt. And then she says to you, it wasn't very great, but we will help you. What he wants from you is just your dedication, your focus.
Does he tell me this?
This is what she tells you, the floating angel in the air with her gorgeous voice that sounds like honey in your ears.
Okay. Right, like her cloak is like beating in the wind every time this thing like slowly like maintains its aerial altitude, and she kind of just nods and like looks up through her fingers and she yells, I accept.
And you just kind of very easily accept this little bargaining, this little anything. And with that, she has a genuine smile on her face, just like happy with how the situation is playing out. And so when that happens, she looks into the window where Otto and Rye were beforehand. She kind of looks into that window and gives it kind of a sharp glance. And then she just nods her head down by like beneath her. And very quickly afterwards, shattering through the window is those whirling bits of metal and everything. Again, everybody's still coughing and hacking on the ground. Cassius watching this whole thing, watching everything play out, his white-knuckled sword in his hands, looking up at this creature, trying to like analyze the situation himself. He is completely, like, it's not like this guy's like, oh, this is great. No, this guy is like, he's like shitting himself. He doesn't even know how to process this whatsoever. Rye is handling it so easily. So he is, so this thing, this whirling metal bit comes smashing through the window and everything. And it breaks apart into two little bits of whirling metal. And one of them whips itself around Grauman's neck and clasps itself and falls gently down as a necklace on Grauman's, around Grauman's neck with a crescent moon hanging there. And the other one resizes itself from Rye's little frail arms to Grauman's thick forearm and fits itself right around Grauman's forearm as an armband for him instead. And immediately as this happens, as soon as those wrap around Grauman, instantly, all of that hatred to Rye, every bit of it just washes away. It's just gone. It is completely gone. As a matter of fact, Grauman feels like remembers everything that he did beforehand, all the stuff they wanted to do against Rye, how much he wanted to harm Rye, understands that he was charmed this whole while, and guilt washes over Grauman as he realized Rye is one of his best friends, and he's been trying to kill her this whole while. So as soon as those finish clasping onto Grauman and just kind of settle there, Grauman's like facial features completely change. Maggie, can you describe this really quickly for us before I move on?
Yeah, sure. I guess because he was kind of like lifted up by this rope that was on there, and as everything's changing and this thing's like the necklace, it changes into a necklace and it kind of like moves down his arm and around his armband. He like his facial expression goes from like anger into like just pure sadness, and as he drops to because he's on his knee already, he drops like to both and kind of like looks down and has both of his hands or his head in his hands.
Okay, so Rye sees this and probably isn't fully able to understand why it is that Grauman's doing this, but
and he's
watches
probably
those
like grabbing the side of his face that's like scarred, and he's like is just holding it.
So Rye sees this happening, those things wrap around him, Grauman wincing almost and falling and grabbing like the side of his scar and kind of seeming to like wince and going through like some emotions down there. Otto watches this as well, though he's kind of distracted. Like imagine being like real life in a desert and a large scorpion was just found on your chest, you know, except this one is a demonic one that can speak and is known to kill people with magic. So he's looking down at this thing while watching this happen. How do Otto and Thonk react to this at the moment?
Thonk doesn't do anything. There's nothing he can do realistically in the situation.
Okay. Otto?
Yeah, nothing's changed for me.
So the after like all that stuff kind of settles down, and the thing wraps around her, Rye sees this and probably is like looking like, hey, that's my shit. You know what I mean? And looks up at her. But before like Rye says anything or is even able to come to full conclusion, she looks down at Rye and says to her, "You won't need them. He'll always be with you now." So with that happening, and everybody kind of like hacking on the ground and everybody's like, oh, what's going on? All of a sudden, the rope starts to untie around Grauman, and Grauman's kind of like let completely free. The thing that's on Otto's chest looks up at him and gives him like this evil, toothy smile that more or less says like I would like to eat your spleen, and then turns invisible. And almost immediately afterwards, you can feel it like jump off of you and feel like a gust of wind and hear a beat of the wings as it flies off. And the air around you starts to kind of like thin out and dissipate as like the sky starts to like open up and like all the metal around you seems to open. The sun starts to come in, and very quickly after it opens up, the walls just kind of and drop down beneath the ground around you. The ground, once again, being dirt or stone or wherever it is that you happen to be standing, or wood, no longer completely comprised of the iron. Looking around you, like as I said, that property and area around it, including parts of other property, are now out of that area, but the areas of the property that were completely like severed and cut because of the walls of iron that had popped up. They're once again completely joined. It's not like they were like permanently separated, or they're just as though it had never happened. Everybody that's around you is on the ground, hacking and coughing and wheezing and whatnot. They're finally starting to like come to their senses, including all of you, and obviously you guys will be before the guards. Cassius is still kind of like mouth agape, just kind of like looking around, trying to analyze the situation. The only person complete with their wits around them is Rye, and everybody else around the town is kind of like blinking and confused. That happens to be outside of the perimeter of what it was that had gone where you had gone. Everybody else kind of like blinking, confused, looking at you guys like, what the hell? Like, and not like shocked in fear or anything like that, but just like genuinely confused about what the hell just happened. So I'm going to give the first response to Rye, and then we can filter the other ones in.
Rye walks over to Thonk and like attempts to like help him to his feet. She like offers her hand, and as she's doing this, she's like locking eyes with Cassius.
To Thonk or to Grumman?
To Thonk. She's helping Thonk up. Yeah.
I stand up, and I'll be looking down. I'll be looking down towards Cassius as well.
The next response is going to come from Otto, who actually had more of his wits about him.
I go up. Where's Grumman?
He's not too far from you. We'll say like 10, 15 feet on the ground. Finally released from those things, but still holding the side of his face and on his knees at the moment.
I'm going to go run and check on Grumman.
Okay. Next is Cassius, who's still kind of like mouth agape, and like his sword, which was kind of like held out there, but almost like out of instinct, like held out there and at the ready, it just kind of like flops to his, like his arm kind of like flops to his side. And the sword just kind of like lazily, like almost like he didn't even realize that his hand was loosening, falls out of his hand and onto the ground around him. And he's looking at his men, just like hacking and coughing and looking at the world like he's happy to be once again in it, having a hard time just processing everything that happened. And like after blinking and like coughing just like once or twice more, because, you know, obviously your lungs are still all filled with that, whatever that was, he kind of looks over at Thonk and Rye, who's immediately next to him, is like, we need to talk. You know, he's just kind of like trying to gather his wits about him. You know, as he's saying that, he's kind of like reaching up almost absent-mindedly, kind of like grasping at his chest, you know, like holding it kind of tight, and coughs a few more times. Next, we're going to give it to Grumman. Grumman, Otto had rushed over to you and is trying to like check on you and make sure that you're okay.
Yeah, I guess Grumman is like, he's just down there like holding his head, and he like is just trying to understand everything. Like, you gotta remember, Grumman's not the brightest. He's already gone through so much, and like, so he's just trying to comprehend what happened to him and how it happened, and he's been charmed for a really long time at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
So.
A lot of regret hanging in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then finally, Thunk, who just watched all this stuff happen, witnessed everything. He's finally got his wits back about him. He's fully perceiving everything going on. How does Thunk react to all that?
He just stands up, you know, next to Rye. He keeps his spear in hand. He looks beat to hell with the 2 arrows sticking out of him and bleeding profusely. And he kind of just stands there and not necessarily, I feel like squares off is the wrong word, but stands fully toward Cassius.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So once again, you're just kind of like regaining your posture and like just regaining the fact that I am a force to be reckoned with, not like, let's fight. Haha.
Yeah. No. I'm not about to fight after what the fuck ever just happened.
So Cassius just kind of says to you guys, go in, I need to check on, just wait for me. Just wait for me. And like he kind of like leaves his sword on the ground there, and it almost looks like a lost puppy, not knowing what to do, as he kind of like absentmindedly kind of walks over to the first guy and just kind of like starts like nudging him. Like you can tell that he's trying to be compassionate, help these people out, but like he's got like 2% of his brain power like on this. He's kind of like, you okay? Like he's very distracted at the moment. He hasn't got his wits back about him yet. So he more or less just tells you guys to go into the place and he'll talk to you shortly. And he's going about his business. So I assume everybody just kind of gets up and makes their way into the mayor's house.
Yeah.
Okay.
As I'm walking next to Rye, he just looks down and he grumbles to her like, "What the fuck did you just do?"
Rye just like looks straight ahead, and her expression is just vacant. Like she doesn't respond. She doesn't know what she just did.
Thonk is when he says that, he's just looking forward at the house and he just doesn't ask again. He continues to walk forward.
Okay, so you guys go walking into the house, all four of you. I imagine Otto. This is hilarious. Otto assisting Grumman. It's almost like a cane.
He's
You
like
carry
holding his
Otto
knee.
by his head. Yeah. Holding his knee. Yeah, there you go. So anyways, Otto is assisting Grumman to whatever ability they can to get him inside. Because I mean, Otto's fine, but Grumman's really injured and has just gone through the biggest ordeal out of everybody. And so shot 3 times, choked out for a while, emotional turmoil, blah blah, hacking up a lung. So you guys make your way into the house, and library side or side of the table, I don't really care, whichever way you, or maybe even just breaking up into multiple rooms on the first floor, that left and right room we had described beforehand that has like the temple off to the side. So would you guys all stay together, or even break up into mini groups? That real quick, actually.
I mean, I don't know if Thonk would consciously make that decision right now.
I think-
I'd stick wherever Rye is. Thonk wants
The
to
reason
stay.
Rye went to Thunk is she doesn't know if Grumman wants to kill us still.
Yeah, makes sense.
Like Rye doesn't know yet.
Mhm.
She saw Grumman drop to his knees, but like that didn't really mean a lot. She didn't really
Well, I
understand.
mean, we're walking in together, and I haven't.
I'd say that we're going in together, and then you guys are like behind us. But
Oh, okay.
Rye's still
but I
like
mean,
a little bit apprehensive.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess I see you because I'm walking. We're not like. Are we far behind them? I feel like we would.
No, probably immediately behind. But you know what? Otto
Yeah.
would probably be thinking that same thing. So I'm just going to make this division really quickly. Ryan and Thonk go to the left, which is the area they have like the fireplace and the table where it's comfortable to sit down. And Otto, always more comfortable around books and everything, would kind of guide Grumman to the right, to that other room that was kind of like a semi-library or whatever it was, with the books and and scrolls and everything on the walls. And it has that like little door down the short hallway off of it. So you guys kind of split up in these two like little mini groups and just kind of gather your bearings. You're not far from each other, less than 10 feet from each other, and you can even see each other through doorways. So it's not like you're like, I have to yell over to you. You can speak at a relatively normal voice and hear each other easily. However, as you guys kind of split over to this thing, and even just take like a full minute of just trying to absorb what it was that you just went through, because this was a very, very difficult thing for everybody on different levels to absorb and to experience. One of the things that Otto's eye keeps catching Otto's eye as he's sitting there, not just because it's shiny, but also just like after the experience that he just went through.
Give me like
One of the
2
things that
minutes. I'll be right
keep
back.
catching his eye, is he keeps like kind of like looking over down that hallway and seeing that like glimmering gold filigree on that door at the end of that mini hallway.
The what?
The glimmering gold filigree that's on the door of the hallway, and that it has like the writing on it in a language that you don't know because it's Shondathan. However, underneath it, it does have that symbol you know all too well. It has the symbol of Timora, you know, the coin with the smiling face on it at the bottom underneath the script, and it's right on that door over there. Rye, of course, knows this door better, but she's in the other room. So that keeps kind of catching Otto's eye. So Mathis is gone. We're gonna go to the two of you real quick again after like a moment of processing and that kind of catching Otto's eye left and right. Grumman and Otto, how do you say like process?
What room are we in right now? So like you took me to the left. We went into like what does it look like? Yeah.
You guys had walked in. You actually went to the room to the right, which was the one that has like a couple of little sitting areas, but there's like a built-in wall around you, like kind of like a kitty-cornered area where there's books on shelves. There's a couple of scrolls on the shelves. If you remember before, this is where Rye had seen the map from at the beginning of last session, so it was quite a long time ago. Had seen the maps from, and then off of this room was that mini shrine to Timora. It was right off of this room. So you're surrounded by things like, you know, books and learning stuff. So, but there's lots of places for you to kind of slump or even just against a wall.
Okay.
Otto is well, since the gaff, he now is trying to make sure that Grumman is alive and well. He's also concerned about his mental state. So I as I've been helping him get into the room, I say, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?"
As he's like slouching into the room, like sitting up against the wall, his hand still on his head, he like has his arm around Otto and he like pulls him close and just like hugs him and then like let's go, and he says and like just tears start coming down. I was rolling to see if I would cry or not. That was what I was. So he just starts like tears just come down his face and he's like,
Grandma rolled a 6 wisdom, so and decided to start crying. Well, not decided, but started crying. Yeah.
And he's kind of like blabbering, but you can't understand what he's saying because he's just like making nonsense, and he's half speaking Orcish, half common. It's just like a mess of what's coming out of his mouth when he's just sobbing.
I guess Otto is like holding his entire head with most of my body, trying to console him.
Oh, that's hilarious. Trying to console him, yeah. So that's kind of happening. But as you're like holding him, cradling him, and trying to console him and saying these words, and I imagine like Otto is a very silver-tongued person, and there's a few moments where he struggles to like find the words to say, but eventually he's able to kind of like get over himself and kind of like go more into like Otto's processing his own shit. But despite that, he's able to kind of eventually break through that. And much like any actor, you get over the moment and live in this, like get over your own stuff and live in this moment. And so he's able to say the words that are needed and be there for his friend. He's able to say what needs to be said. But despite the fact that he's doing this, despite the fact that he's able to fall into this role very easily, which is what Grumman needs at the moment, every once in a while his eyes do dart up and look at that glistening silver filigree. Going back over to Rye and Thunk, who are sitting in sitting at the tables, kind of like slumped into chairs or standing or whatever it is that they're doing. How do you, after like a minute or so of silence, just processing, how do you guys handle this?
Well, I would plop down, and the first thing I would do is probably like touch my chest and heal myself, basically throw a heal on myself because I'm hurting really, really bad.
You guys are able to be a part of a short rest, so everybody's welcome to use HD if they want to.
Cool.
So
all right, cool.
That's perfectly fine
But
for heal.
He leaves his hand over the mark of Grummish for a little while, and then he'll kind of clench it into a fist, just showing the edges of it before looking at Rye, and then putting his hand on the table, and just deadlocked, and he just asks very plainly, "Who do you serve?"
Rye just like shakes her head like she doesn't know. Just
So
like,
not in like a no way, like I'm not telling you, but like in a like you shrug your shoulders kind of thing, like I don't fucking know.
like she kind of shakes her head in a no way, but looks at you like, and you can tell her expression like she doesn't know.
Thonk is like, he's super perceptive, so he'll pick up on that.
Yeah.
So he takes that in for a second, keeps his hand on the table. He looks like he's struggling to regain composure completely. Like he lost his shit outside, so he's trying to kind of rein himself back in. He clenches it to like a small fist. He says, "You serve a power that you don't understand."
She's got the 1,000-yard stare going, and she kind of like just like whispers like, "I did it for my friends." Like that's all she says. She says it like 3 times.
Yeah, you're not gonna give me much useful information in your state. And again, Thonk's not clear of head either right now. So he'll pull his arm back off the table, cross his arms, and he will just dead stare at you for an indeterminate amount of time. Yeah, and he just stares you down.
Okay.
That's it. That's all he'll do.
All right.
Okay, so that goes on for a few minutes, let's say 10 minutes of you guys kind of being separated in your own areas, kind of processing it. Eventually, like, whether for some characters it's immediate, for some characters it's later on, but you guys don't even address it at first. Everybody's kind of finally able to just, somebody, whoever wants to be at first, doesn't matter, we can address the fact that Grumman doesn't want to kill Rye anymore and clearly knows where Rye is and has seen her and everything. So somebody's welcome to address that, doesn't need to. Would anybody like to jump onto that? Or
I think it'd probably be Grumman himself, like consumed by guilt and stuff. And as he's like sobbing and and he's finally like starting to make semi-sense with his mumbling. He's just like, and he's like, puts a bunch of the boogies away in the eyes, and he looks at Otto, and he's like, I need to say sorry.
Well, why? Why, buddy?
He like looks away and then looks back, and he looks you straight in the eye and says, Rye.
Oh, you remember, huh?
He like nods.
Let's go talk to her.
He gets up.
Yeah.
So like I said, there's 2 doors. There's a hallway between them. The doors are across from each other. So as soon as Gromit gets up and like kind of walks and can see through the doorway, Gromit can see Rye there, and Gromit's no small for him. So Rye can very easily see Gromit. Rye and Thunk can both very easily see Gromit standing in the doorway, looking, eyes locked onto Rye.
You see Thunk reactively reach for his spear. It's probably like next to him on the side.
Is it like a quick, like a grab it really quickly, like everything tensed, or he's kind of like sliding his hand over to it and grabbing it?
He's still in reactionary mode, so it's very quick.
Gotcha.
And
Gromit's
Otto,
actually like not looking at Rye. He's actually like looking down and walking, like looking. He's like really shameful right now. He feels bad.
Otto walks out from behind Gromit and looks up to Thunk, kind of gives him it's difficult to explain, but the look that kind of conveys the information that Thunk may need to think, oh, it's okay. We don't.
He's not
going to
murder Rye. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my grip loosens until I just let it go and bring my hands back to being crossed in front of me.
Okay. Gromit approaches the room. Rye or Gromit?
When Gromit, if Rye lets him get close enough, when Gromit gets close enough, he just like hugs her.
How does Rye react to Gromit approaching?
She doesn't. She's just like kind of like sitting on the ground.
She just trusts that whatever happened well.
Yeah. I mean, like they said, they took care of it, right? So.
Yeah, she saw her necklace get wrapped around my arm, so I'm thinking, right, kind of put
Absolutely.
it together. Gromit would not, but.
So Gromit goes up and approaches her. You said you wrap your arms around her. Give her a hug.
Yeah.
Rye like initially she realizes that Gromit's hugging her, and she like looks down and she sees like the armlet on Gromit's like bicep, and then like you see her hands like come up and hug him, and she's like smiling, like the gang's back together, and like whatever.
Otto runs up and grabs him too.
Yeah, whatever the cost, like everyone's good. They're all right again. So she's like you can see that like she's immediately like overjoyed. She's like snapped out of this funk that she was in.
That's good. So you guys spend like I would even say that a hug like that would go on for like a long period, like a solid 15, 20 seconds of just like silent
We
hugging.
just having a group hug, and then like folks just watching.
Yeah.
You know, though, to be fair though, like the way Thunk just played out, like Thunk's watching, but it's not one of those like Thunk's watching and he's kind of like genuinely happy somewhere deep down and maybe detail that things are falling back in place. All of Grumsh's tools are back in line. Or whatever it is that goes in his twisted mind. So you guys like go on for like a solid like 15, 20-second group hug before whoever you guys finally break up and the group hug settles down. One more time, I'm going to throw it to you guys as a group to kind of like process whatever it was that just happens. Feel free to totally toss it to the side if you feel as though your characters just handle it in just indeterminate silence. Just like we're good. We're all in our own heads good.
Otto, in the emotion of the moment, bursts out into tears of his own and just starts going, Gromit, I told him to shoot at you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that he nearly killed you.
Oh, Gromit's just like, but okay, and he just like grabbing Otto and hugging him more. So like while we're just all hugging and crying, and we're like,
I go into further hysterics. Like, I thought I could handle it. I thought I could win, but I didn't know what I was doing.
Rye's like getting visibly uncomfortable.
Gromit's like
them hugging each other and like crying over each other, and you can just see her in the middle, and she's like stopped smiling, and like she's kind of like
Grauman's like,
Awkward, like she wants to be let go of, but she's stuck in the middle of this hug.
and Grauman's like, I knew it was you. I heard you yell fire, and I heard your voice.
Oh, Jesus, that's hilarious. How does Thonk handle all of this?
He doesn't say anything.
Just watches all of it.
He's like, I'm glad I'm not in that pile of mess.
He's kind of shaking his head. Awesome. Okay, so you guys kind of go through that, and it goes on for a few minutes. Eventually, it kind of simmers down, and maybe you get into like say light talk or whatever. Is there anything else you guys want to do before we move on to Cassius's re-entering of this room?
Nope.
No. Perfect. So minutes pass, more minutes pass or whatever, before finally Cassius does re-enter the room, re-enter the building. And when he comes in, initially he comes in and you hear like several boot steps in the doorway, and Thunk can easily hear this. Everybody else, I mean, can hear partial words or whatever. Thunk hears everything. But there's kind of like a harsh whisper. It's like, no, sir, we should be coming with you. I said stand down. Sir, you don't know what's going on there. They were just like, I said stand down. Sir, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to spend 5 nights in jail or the brig? And he's like, sir, it's for your stand down, go home. But go home. You've been through enough. See your wife. And so the person just kind of like stands there for a moment. There's like no movement whatsoever. You can kind of hear like a harsh movement happen. And then finally, you hear Boots walk away, and then you can like hear he says to somebody else, "You as well, leave." And then as you hear a second set of boots leaving the building, there's like a moment of silence, like as the footsteps kind of like walk out onto the porch and then off the steps. He comes walking in. He walks in and he stands in the doorway. You guys are currently in the room. I assume unless you moved. You're in the room that had the long table, the fireplace, and whatnot. Correct me if I'm wrong. Would you have gone to the other room?
Is it all messed up because Grauman wouldn't smash you?
Grauman didn't smash anything on the first floor. He only smashed open the front door and everything. He went upstairs and beat the hell out of everything. So you guys are in the civil area.
Yeah.
So did you stay in like the long table area or go on the other side? It doesn't really matter, but.
We're in the long table area.
Cool. So in the long table area, I imagine nobody has their back to the door, and you guys are kind of just like sitting on either side so you can look to your left or right respectively and see the door. So he comes walking in. Anybody standing? Everybody sitting?
I'm sitting.
Sitting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So and Otto's standing on a chair just so he can be part of the group.
Yeah.
So sorry. So you guys, he comes walking into the doorway, and he stands in the doorway, and he stands there for like a moment of silence. And then he reaches down, and this is not quick. It's not threatening or anything like that. It's very obvious. He reaches down with the hands that he would. So his sword's obviously, sitting in the sheath opposite side his primary hands. He reaches down with his non-primary hand and pulls out the sword, and he walks into the room holding the sword and lays it on top of the table as like a sign of peace.
Okay.
Grauman takes his axe off and puts it on the table in front of him.
Otto puts his rapier on the table.
What about Grauman's other axe? I'm just kidding. So I imagine Grauman's just kind of like bump. Yeah.
You mean other axes?
Other axe? Yeah. What about the 16 other? So you guys make your gestures or whatever of peace. It's very obvious that you're willing to talk, and so he just kind of like breathes in these moments, and he's kind of like he's obviously thinking about how it is he should start, and kind of like nodding to himself, looking down, not at anybody, kind of looking down, like almost like the edge of the table, just kind of like nodding as he's thinking to start. And he's like, I cannot apologize for my initial actions, though I do understand that it's likely they were wrong. Allow me to explain at least a little.
Rai looks at Thunk.
Thong doesn't say shit.
Grauman's like, I smash you things.
He kind of like holds his hand up to Grauman as he's saying that, and it's like it's not even a conversation at the moment. You know what I mean? Like What, you spilt a glass of water? Okay, you know, like that's kind of like how he's handling it at the moment. So he's like, in my city, my guards and I are connected very well. It's the only way we've been able to survive as long as we have. When an orc that is clearly not of the types that live around here walks into my city, bare-chested, unprotected from the harsh weather, just so he can show off the emblazoned symbol of Grumsh,
Racist.
I know that trouble is brewing. And I would rather protect my people on the slim chance that I'm wrong than subject my people to what it is that Grumsh can bring here. I know of what has happened to the south. I know of what has happened in other regions to those that follow Grumsh's rule too closely. I cannot allow that to happen here. So I will not apologize for my actions.
What happened in the South? What are you talking about?
You don't know. I mean, actually, no, your character's insanely wise. He's
Yeah.
probably referring to the region that you're going to find.
Where the orcs have prospered, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So he
Your
says,
homies, man. That's where your
I
people
get
be.
confused.
You got branded.
Yeah, 'cause
You don't
we're in
even
the
know-
Northwest,
You don't even
so
know what
we're in the
religion you're
West.
following. What is this?
so he's like, thank you guys for reminding Mathis's character. So he says, so I cannot apologize. So I will not apologize for my actions, but I do understand that they may have been wrong. Now, that explains what I've done and why I've done it. I will say, however, to Grommen, the fact that it was you and not who I assumed it was in my line of fire, that was horribly misfortunate. I wish that that wasn't how it had played out. You did not deserve to feel the pain that you did, and reprimands will be made to you for that. I understand that you were under a charm. Rai had explained it to me. I know the power of charms. I know how magics work. However, I've never experienced anything like that beforehand. I was told that was the effects of a fey creature. No fey I've ever heard of can have, no fey with any glimmer of good or light in its heart could ever have that effect on anyone.
Grumman just kind of looks down and he's like, but she's so pretty.
I don't doubt what you're saying, Grommen, but I honestly don't even know if the concoction that was handed to you would have worked, because the fae that you encountered was most likely not what others had assumed. That was dark. What we all just witnessed was dark. And to that, Rai. And he's just kind of like mouthlessly gestures to Rai, like,
I is just like smiling dumbly at him. Almost as if she didn't do nothing.
very Rai. After like a few moments of that, he's like, did we stay? Did we leave? Did they come? What were they? I've experienced horrors in my life. I've helped fight against an onslaught of drow. I've fought against an army of 1,000 orcs. I've stood against beasts of man and wizards that can conjure towers of crystal. I've survived many things in my life and have always led my people to safety. I've always done everything I possibly could to serve my people, but I've never experienced the horrors that were that. I couldn't breathe. The creature before me was so beautiful, but I knew it could end me if it even had the glimmer of a thought to.
Rai kind of cuts him off and attempts to like diffuse the situation. She kind of scratches her head. She's like, "It's misfortune curse, am I right?"
Yeah. No, that wasn't Bathsheba. That couldn't be Bathsheba. Bathsheba's, sure, she's a goddess, but Timora is so much greater than Bathsheba is. And I think at this, I'm sorry, we need to speak, but I think I need to pray. I feel dirty in ways that I didn't know were possible, and I just need to cleanse myself. I need to pray. And he kind of just kind of like turns, and it's like he almost phases back to how he was, like once he's kind of like reliving the experience, to how he was before when he first returned from, or whatever it was that dissipated from, or whatever it had happened. He almost kind of like returns to those first few moments, and he just kind of like mouth agates, turns, and this is a man that's very well composed and not easily intimidated or whatever. And he's explained himself just now, and he just kind of like turns and like a mindless person just kind of like starts shuffling out of the room and into the other one, and turns to go into his small shrine of Timora. And
Ramen looks at Rai as he's like walking away, and he's like, "He going to take bath?"
Rai kind of like nods, and she's like, "I guess that went well, right?"
And with that, and the characters kind of processing it, and a little bit more time jump happening, we will take our next break and come back with what the
All right. We'll be back in about 5 minutes, guys. Go grab a drink. We'll be right back with hour 3 of Edge of Morality.